Hi, I'm Carl Stave of Domino Connection, and I am so glad to have Melanie Strick with us today of Money DNA. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. One of my favorite conversations to have.
So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, with the relationship and building, a real connection with money,
Mhm.
and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, it's funny you use the word connection because that's what I've been known for since I started my business is connections, connectors. My first company was called Success Connections. So it's kind of a word that has a lot of power, I think. And, my background is I came out of a Fortune 500 company. I worked for three different really large Fortune 500 companies, but the first phase of my career for about 14 years. And I got into running my own business because I wanted to have a lot more freedom. I wanted to be able to call my own shots. I wanted to be able to, mine was very purpose driven. I was finding out that I had this purpose on the planet and I wanted to, be able to spend my life really furthering that. But I struggled. I was really broke for the first 18 months of running my business. I didn't know what I was doing. It was very challenging for me to translate what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do for business into any kind of strategy that would make me money. And I happened to be that person. If something wasn't working, I would look for someone who did it better. I looked for someone who had answers, and I went through a process with a mentor where I had an experience where I realized that I had a set of belief systems that were driving me and were causing me to make certain choices about what I would put my attention on, what kind of actions I would take. And all of a sudden, I had this huge epiphany that I was actually rejecting money. And that's what was keeping me stuck around the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month level. And I realized like the people that were making six, seven figure incomes in my life, the people that I knew and respected. And I kept looking at like, all right, why can't I do what they're doing? What's in my way? Right. We had that conversation with ourselves or our friends sometimes. And I realized like it was all up here. Like I was literally telling myself things every day that was causing me to not have the inspiration, motivation, or the ability to take action on the things that would really work. And so I kind of had my own experience with money DNA and the recoding process really early in my career. And I went from making, those really low numbers to making consistent six figures in just under 9 months. But I didn't have any idea the level of impact and level of power that this process was going to have with my clients later down the road, because I just thought, oh, okay, now I'm just normal like everybody else. I didn't realize that so many other people were feeling that struggle or that sense of disconnect and wondering why making six and seven figures was so hard to keep up with. And I don't know if you hear that conversation, but I certainly hear it all the time from people like, why isn't it working for me? Or what am I doing wrong? Or why can't I do what so-and-so is doing? And, I'm just as smart as they are.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
that
do.
was part of it.
What I've found is the systems around it, and I hope we can kind of dive into that. What are those
Yeah,
systems
please.
look like? But before we do, why do you think people do struggle with money? What is that core struggle that so many of us deal with?
hmm So I think there are three levels why we struggle. One, very obviously, we don't know what to do. Okay, so this is the one that's the easiest, and it's really the thing that I shouldn't say it's the easiest. This is the one that's the most common thing to look at. Okay, if I don't know what to do, I hire someone to do it for me, or I learn what I'm supposed to do. And so that's usually relating to marketing, it's relating to sales, it's about knowing what to do in what order, how to talk about what you do, how to get more traffic in the door, how to build up. And I look at that as an optimizing approach. You've got to figure out how what you do works, and then how do you do it better.
Mhm.
But I discovered something really interesting. A lot of people actually know what to do, but they don't do it. And so I got really curious. Like I'm a curious person, and because I'm hired to get high performance results for business owners, entrepreneurs, I was really like, okay, so why is this person, they know what to do. They don't really need me to tell them what to do, or we've designed their strategy and they're not doing it. Why? And I realized there was two more levels behind it. One is you don't actually take the action. You literally, it's like you paralyze yourself, or you let other things distract you, and you get busy doing all the wrong things, and you let the right things or the right order of things fall apart. And I see this all the time. I have clients come in, and so from, the minute they walk in the door till lunch, they're putting out fires and handling emails. And these are things that are important, but they're not the right things to put first because they're not really furthering their income. Then I realized, why do people know what to do and don't do it, and have this pattern stick with them for long periods of time? And I realized it has to do with our attitude and our mindset and the thoughts that we think and the beliefs that we hold, which is what I call the money DNA. Is we have a program that we run in our brain that really is dictating the level of success that we believe is possible. And so we take action or don't take action so that we stay congruent with that picture or with that program that's running. And literally, it's usually running underneath in our unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And that's why people tend to struggle or build a lot of success and then lose it all, or have up and down erratic patterns with money, or quite frankly, just, they're so busy, they never do the right things.
Yeah, and one of the things that popped in my mind was just the aspect of fear, like what triggers this anxiety, and then we kind of like go jump somewhere else because we're afraid of what the results are going to happen after we're done with the task or whatever action we took.
There's two kinds of fears that people primarily have when it comes to what you're talking about. One is the fear of, what will people think if it doesn't work? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't work and I lose all this money? So we kind of take our foot off the gas, we pull our finger off the trigger, and we just sustain where we're at, even though what we have isn't enough for what we really envision. The other fear is, what if it does work? What will I lose? Yeah. What will happen to my relationships? How's it going to change me? Am I going to lose my freedom? So, there's a whole set of fears and anxieties and worries that really are very real for people. But again, they're kind of underneath. We don't walk around going, well, if I get more successful, I'm going to lose all the people I love, so I'm not going to do it. Like, we don't really see it that way. Mm-hmm. We just don't do it, and we don't know why.
Yeah, it's multiple connections that get back, and you have to follow it and go backwards to figure out where that core issue is.
Yeah, right? I like to reverse engineer. I look at what's the result you're having, and this is actually part of how your money DNA is formed. Is you look at the results, and then you say, what actions am I taking or not taking? Mm-hmm. And then then this is where I usually come in, because people have a hard time accessing this. What thoughts go through my mind that lead me to taking those actions or not action? And then I look at what belief system is running underneath that's causing me to see the world from this point of view. So if I reverse engineer that and get to the belief, and then here's what's so powerful, and this is what I found worked for me, that was different than what a lot of people were trying to do, why it didn't really stick, is...
Hey everybody, a little technical difficulty right there, but that's how it goes when you have new video and Skype and disconnect. So we're back. Thank you for coming here and joining us. And Melanie, you were talking about beliefs. You want to jump back in there?
Yeah, so I'll try and pick up where I left off, wherever that was. So basically, the way it works is that our beliefs are causing us to have certain thought patterns, to see the world in a certain way, and to have a program that runs that literally is dictating what kind of results we'll go after. Mm-hmm. And so I like to look at it as, how do our thoughts dictate what we're influenced to do or not do? I'll give you an example from my own life. I'll just be a little bit vulnerable here, and then I'll share how it's worked with some of my clients. So one of the things I realized was that when I was first starting my business, I'll take you back to that part of the journey. I was trained to be a coach, and I was trained to do things a certain way, but that way was going to cause me to have to work 10 times harder to make a six-figure income than I actually had envisioned for myself. And I kept really holding back, and I couldn't figure out why. I wasn't really going for it. I wasn't really doing the things I could be doing to enroll clients. And, it kept me in this struggle mode. And I realized like there was a part of me that didn't want to have to work that hard. Deep down inside, I had this conflict with, if I build my business up to six figures with what I have to work with, I'll never be able to get to six figures. And I was not wanting to have to work as hard as it was going to take. Like I was literally going to have to see 40 clients a week to make that model work. And then I also realized in the same token that to change the model was also, I had resistance because I was really fearful of the process of marketing. I had this thing, if I'm marketing my business, I'm going to be making people, or I'm going to be manipulating people, or I'm going to have to do these things that feel bad. And I had all this junk clogging up my ability, like a pipeline that's full of crap, literally, and nothing would flow through it. So I literally had to unclog those pipelines, which were the beliefs and the attitude and the junk and the thoughts and all the stuff that I was making up that was making this mean something bad. And as I cleared that out and recoded it, all of a sudden I was able to take action on things that I used to resist. All of a sudden I had new ideas and new ways to design my business model so that I could work a fraction and make the six figures that I wanted. And that's what allowed me to take off and leap into that six figures quickly.
So what is that first step? How do you start to understand those thoughts and what's holding you back and then step in the right direction?
Well, I think first of all, it starts with the awareness and understanding that what you're experiencing doesn't have to be this hard. You don't have to struggle. You're not stuck there. And when you recognize like, oh, you know what? I'm actually running one of the 6 destructive money DNA blueprints. And there's actually another way to do life, to do business that's not this hard. Mm-hmm. And you start to see, wow, okay, there is another possibility. I believe that when we see what's possible, we can make better choices. But most of us, this is a blind spot. We don't realize that we're in a pattern that's not helpful, that's actually keeping us stuck. So information is the first part. And then the second part is a decision. Are you willing to recode the program that you're running so that you can do what I call thrive, where you can have a more fulfilling, for some people a more effortless, for all of us a more leveraged approach to growing your business and experiencing 6 or 7 figures in revenues, or 8 figures in revenues if that's your goal. And it starts with making the decision that you're going to figure out why you're blocked, which blueprint you are running. And then we have to understand the blueprint. And once we understand what our blueprint is that we've been running, then we recode. And real quick, I'll share with you what these 6 destructive blueprints are, because you might start to see yourself in one of them and realize like, oh, now I'm starting to see why this is going the way I'm going. And for a fun game, like, let's just listen along. And like, when you hear it, share with us. Like, I'm sure there's a comment section for your podcast, right? Yep. So first of all, the first one that I see that happens a lot is the avoider. The avoider blueprint really kind of says, I don't want to deal with money. Money's not for me. I'm not good with money. I'm going to have somebody else deal with money. Or you just don't look at your checkbook for 6 months to a year and then wonder why you're having cash flow problems. So the avoider is like the ostrich with the head in the sand. I don't want to do money. Let's just pretend like it doesn't exist, or it's going to work itself out. The second blueprint from the avoider is the under-earner. Now, I don't know if you know any under-earners, but you're running the under-earner pattern if you tend to have to work 1 million hours to make enough money because you're undercharging for your offerings. And typically this happens more with service-based business owners, especially if there's a lot of competition, because somehow you psych yourself out and you think, there's no way I can charge more money. I have a business owner that I've been working with, and her number one challenge is that she refuses to redesign her offerings so that she can charge a higher level of revenue. Mm-hmm. She is the expert in her industry. She is the top of the tier, but she's so in the under-earning pattern that she psychs herself out and she says, oh, I can't do it. I just don't think I can charge that. No one's going to pay it. So there are strategies and there are ways to elevate your income if your blueprint is congruent with earning more money. Mm-hmm. So the under-earner, the next one is the overspender. Now, the overspender has a really specific characteristic, and that is they like to throw money at the problems in their life, and hopefully it just makes it go away. They're addicted to the financial part of their life. They literally, if I can just spend more money on it, if I can throw money at the problem, I'll make it go away. My favorite example is this is a client I was working with overseas who was in so much financial chaos and really, really in a lot of pain, even though he made good money. His patterns around money were really horrible because he just threw money at problems. And so one day he came in to our coaching session in the middle of our recoding process. This is why I knew he was an overspender. And he said, "Oh, I had such a rough couple of days." He goes, "I went to this charity thing last night just to blow off some steam. And I felt so much better after I, donated $2,000 to get a suit." I was like, "What?"
You can't afford that.
Well, hold on. And that was his pattern. That was his blueprint. I'll feel better. I'll make myself feel bigger and feel equal if I can throw just as much money around as everyone else is, but you don't have it. And it's a stupid decision, and you know it, and you do it anyway. Yeah. So that's the overspender. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses. The next one is something called the monk. And the monk is someone who they're very committed to a purpose-driven life, a purpose-driven career. Maybe they're a spiritual leader, a healer. They do some kind of transformation work. They have something that they feel very passionate about in the world. And they have literally made an unconscious and sometimes a conscious decision that it's not okay to make money with this calling. So they literally, they shut off money and they're like, "I don't want to worry about money. This isn't about the money. This isn't about having to make money. This isn't a business." But it is. Mm-hmm. And they've missed the point that you can actually do more good if you know how to really have a healthy, powerful relationship with the flow of money and success. So the monk, they just push money away. They're consciously or unconsciously rejecting it. Then we have the busy addict. And the busy addict is the one that most business owners can relate to. Most entrepreneurs go, "Oh, yeah, I see myself in this one." And the busy addict is someone who they have filled their lives with all kinds of activities, tasks, and stuff to do. But instead of it really leading to more success and really optimizing their business, they're just spinning. They're chasing bright, shiny objects. They're creativity addicts, and they're just jumping after one idea after another, and nothing's really making enough money. So they're spread really thin. They feel really overwhelmed all the time. There's never, they're up at 7, they're working till 10 o'clock at night. They might squeak in a little tiny dinner break. There's always too much to do and not enough time. And the problem is they've confused in their belief system the idea of being successful with being busy. Mm-hmm. So they think I have to work harder to become more successful. And that has gotten all hooked up in their head. And so now they're just busy all the time, thinking busy means I'm getting more done. Mm-hmm. And then the last destructive blueprint is what I call the hoarder. And the hoarders actually, I don't see it a lot in entrepreneurial circles, but it does exist out there. And it shows up like, I'm going to run around and make a bunch of money. And I'm really good at making money. But instead of having a healthy flow in and out, they just do everything it takes to get a whole bunch of money. They put it away, and then they pretend like they don't have anything, and they constrict. And that constriction is like cutting off the hose. And because they act like they don't have money, people think they don't have money, and they pretend like they don't have money, so they feel broke even though they do know how to make money. So they have an unhealthy relationship with prosperity, and they end up cutting off the life force. And many people will make all that money and then lose it by getting taken advantage of, or by simply just not understanding how flow works. And so they suffer with money, even though they know how to make it. So those are the 6 really destructive money DNA blueprints.
I know pretty much someone that fits all those different types.
Yeah, me too. And I pretty much worked with all of them, yeah.
And we all have a little bit, it's, we're never just an extrovert or just an introvert. We always have a little bit of both. And all those things are a part of us. We all like to spend money and do it in ways that excite us because it's fun to buy a new shiny toy or, something, a program that we think can really help us. But yeah, you're right. If we can kind of understand what that is, what part that comes out the most. Then we can start there, because I think a lot of times it's overwhelming to dive in and say,
Wow.
okay, what do I need to do? Okay, I can't face this. And then they, go off and get busy again.
Yeah. And each of those blueprints had a purpose. Like, we designed that blueprint as a strategy for how to do life at a time when we need to do that to get a result. But what happens for many people is they stay stuck there and they don't realize they need to evolve their strategies as they evolve as a person, as they evolve as a business owner, so it's more sustainable.
Yeah.
And when I do the money DNA recoding process with people, the thing that is so enlightening and so eye-opening for a lot of people is that they missed out on the real idea, and that is to thrive. Most of us started our business because we wanted a lifestyle. We wanted financial freedom. We wanted more control over our destiny, but yet we set ourselves up so that we didn't have any of that. Mm-hmm. And when you learn how to really kind of align yourself and recode your blueprint so you're in alignment with what I call the Thrive Blueprint, the Thrive Blueprint is set up so that you feel fulfilled, you feel energized, you're in momentum. And the one thing that's really unique about the Thrive Blueprint, and by the way, I wasn't born with this blueprint. I studied it and I modeled it, and I learned how to shift my blueprint to be in alignment with this. And that is, that person is really programmed to automatically do the right things that generate higher and higher levels of wealth, success, and impact, whatever it is that their value system is connected to. And I'm being really careful here, because a lot of people might think, well, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they're not really good people. Well, all of our value systems are different. I'm not here judging value systems. But what I know is that if you want to be able to emulate and be able to have more consistent, predictable revenues coming in, we have to look at what are we missing in the Thrive Blueprint. Do we tell ourselves that it's going to be hard? Do we tell ourselves that that's impossible to have? What is the story we're making up, and what are we making it mean? And then look at that, and like you said earlier, like, go back and find that in the belief system and shift that so that we can have more success.
So, understanding where your own thoughts are coming from and how to really work with them is the foundation. But I'm curious too. Do you find people who connect with other people, other entrepreneurs, other small business owners, do they have a different type of DNA so they kind of fit together better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, everybody's wired differently. When I teach partnering and team building and help people learn how to really get more power by aligning with other types of people, we always have to look at, what is my most natural way of being, and how could I align with someone else who's different, has different strengths and different assets that I can get power from. So if we bring this conversation into money DNA, first of all, I truly believe that every single person on this planet, it's your responsibility to clean up your own, process with this. Mm-hmm. Like, I look at this like, if you power yourself up from the inside, what you can accomplish in the results is unlimited. You can literally change your internal game around money, clean out that pipe that's stuck, and you can start getting more financial flow. You can have better opportunities because you're focused on things differently. But if you're stuck, sometimes in the short term, it can be very valuable to line up and make a connection with someone who has a different experience, so that you either balance each other out, or you can overcome some of the weak areas that you're experiencing in the short term. Long term, when it comes to your money DNA, you absolutely have to get your own ship righted, so to speak. You want to get that cleaned up. But yeah, I've learned a lot. Like, I remember probably maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I had a client who, he had the Thrive Blueprint. He operated in Thrive mode all the time. And he would get into the busy addiction, but he was really programmed for very high levels of success. And I remember asking him, what is it about the way you do this that causes you to always make high six figures? And he told me, he said, well, I don't know. I just expect that this is where I'm going to be. Like, my thermostat is set for this level. And that was really eye-opening for me, that some people they show up in this world and they're like, yeah, this is the way it is. Like, there's nothing else. They don't recognize that it's okay to be anything less than a 6-figure business owner or a 7-figure business owner. Does that make sense?
Yes, and the best way I can equate it to is everybody fails, but it's how you look at that failure. You can say, "Oh man, I'm terrible. I can't believe I messed this up," or you can say, "Oh, wait a second. I learned from this. This is what I'm going to do next time. I can't wait to implement this new solution."
Right.
And that like you said, that mental shift makes you appreciate and understand what you're really capable of and enjoy that instead of being afraid of it and hiding from it.
Your attitude dictates your altitude. And what you just described is the difference in attitude. And it all goes back to our money DNA. If you have an avoider money DNA, or you have like a monk DNA, or maybe an under-earner DNA, having a failure is going to destroy you. You're going to take it so personally, and it's going to like wreck your self-identity, and it's going to really weigh on you. Mm-hmm. A thriver says, okay, well, that didn't work. What's next? Mm-hmm. Right? Like they pick themselves up. And by the way, I'm not making anyone wrong here. I've been that person where everything just destroyed me. What I learned through recoding my money DNA was how to be so powerful on the inside that things that are going on the outside, they don't destroy me. They don't derail me. They don't define me. You pick yourself up and you go, okay, well, that was a lesson learned. And now what? How do I move forward? And it literally changes your confidence, your ability to what you make things mean. Mm-hmm. And what you make them mean is going to define how you feel about them. And when you feel good, you do things that make you feel good more. When you feel bad, you do things that make you feel bad more.
Yeah.
That's just what I learned, and what, when I've been working with my clients to get better results. This is step one of the other things you have to do to really get the right strategies in place. And if you're not doing what you should be doing, then quite possibly your money DNA is out of whack. And this was a really powerful shift for you to have, so that you can power yourself up and really be able to accomplish some bigger goals and dreams.
Yeah. So a lot of it comes back to, and this is my toughest question. I ask this of everybody.
Okay, so you're not picking on me here,
I'm
right?
not just picking on you here.
Okay.
But it comes back to that, like you said, that core foundation. And so let's take a step back. And what is the secret to happiness? How do you, create that attitude so you let that happiness kind of thrive, and then you can, bounce back a little bit easier? Mm-hmm.
Well, this is my personal opinion, having been on this planet almost as long as, let's say, I'm in my 40s, so we're getting up there, right? And I've been unhappy, and I've been happy. And I had to learn how to be happy. I was not taught the skills of being a happy person. And I have spent more of these years on this planet unhappy than I did happy. And it wasn't until I learned this one thing that I learned how to be happy. And that is really looking at, what am I making the situation in my life mean? And how much power am I allowing myself to have to change it? To change the meaning, to change how I'm going to be with it, and to change what I do. And it just goes right back to what you said before. Many of us, we have catastrophes, we go through divorces, we go through bankruptcies, we go through, really shattering things. But do you make it mean something that causes you to crumble? Or do you take it in as a learning, find the strength from it, find the lesson from it, and then use it to be better? Yeah. And what you make everything mean, so here's an example. Another client of mine, if he basically goes through life so focused on where he isn't yet, he's so hard on himself, and he drives himself so hard, he's miserable because he can't focus on what he's done well. He can't focus on all the amazing things. He is hyper focused on where he isn't at yet. So he's miserable. Now, when we started to do the recoding process, one of the things that happened was he realized that the lens he saw the world was, he made the gap mean, I'm not good enough. I'm failing. If we change what the gap means is, look at how much opportunity I have to grow. Look at the opportunities I've had to do so many amazing things that 90% of the people in this world will never accomplish. And we focus on what has happened that's good. he didn't feel as miserable, and he had more power and momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's what make each and every situation mean.
I like that. I like that. So, yeah, as we kind of wind down here, I'm a big, I love conversion. I love the idea of measuring. And
Hmm.
that's where it starts, where you're at and how you can slowly kind of bring up your altitude. And, my whole thing is the domino effect. Because once you miss that next domino, your rocket ship comes spiraling down. So, how do you make sure you keep tipping and reaching that next step so you can keep going? I guess what I'm trying to do is give the audience one thing that they can start doing, and then
Hmm.
they can start building on top of that and really making sure they reach those new levels.
Okay, well, all I can say is what works for me and the clients that I work with, because I'm a very driven person, but I'm also very committed to doing it with ease, effortlessness, and grace.
Mm.
So the program I run is a Thrive program to achieve things that no one else is achieving, to achieve more. But I do it with a certain way of going there, right? And so here's what I've done to really challenge myself into to the what's next. How do I get that next level? And that is I'm constantly refining my inner game and my outer game. I hire a mentor. I have hired the most expensive mentor I can find because I want to challenge myself to grow. Like, I don't want to be complacent. I don't want somebody who hasn't achieved, a multi-million-dollar business telling me what to do or not to do. I want someone who is at the top of their game. Like, I want someone who's farther along than me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at like we were talking about conversion. I'm always looking at what is it that I can do better, that one thing I can do better that will make everything else perform 100 times better.
Mm-hmm.
What most people come to me for is to help them optimize their business. How do I make what I have perform 10 to 100 times better? I start with the mindset, then I look at the personal performance habits, and then we look at the design of the business. Can the business actually scale? Can it grow? And so for me, one practical thing you can do right now is ask yourself, what result do I want to be getting? Okay, so look at what result do I want to be getting? Is it a financial result? Is it, are you looking for a certain number of people in your list? Is it that you want to be able to, serve a certain number of clients? Like, what is that goal? Then ask yourself, what have I been unwilling to do differently to get that result?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guarantee it's going to fit in one of three things. Either you haven't been willing to change your pricing model, you haven't been focused on the right client, or you are allowing old, outdated strategies on your performance side. So you've been overly creative and not focused, or you've been doing it all yourself and not leveraged enough. So there's like a performance issue there. And that's how we always get back to, all right, so what's the belief system that's causing you to operate that way?
Yeah.
But I think that's something everybody could kind of take in and really think about as you're looking at what's next. What is it that you have your eye on? And what have you been unwilling to do up to now to get there?
Yeah. I like that. And it reminds me of it's not finding the answers, it's asking the right questions that are more important.
I love that saying, by the way. It's something I'm always looking at. Like, if I feel stuck, then obviously I'm not asking myself the right question. My mentor has often said that people who have struggle are just really good at asking themselves really bad questions,
Mm-hmm.
really limiting questions.
Yeah. And then you can't get back to the core of who you are and how you can change it if you're looking in the wrong areas.
Yeah, exactly. And there's I'm in quote mode right now, but I think it was an Albert Einstein quote that says the definition of insanity is trying to figure out how to do something differently with the same level of thinking that you created it.
Yeah.
You cannot create a new reality inside your own head because you created the reality you're in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think I've heard that before. Yeah. I should look that quote up and tweet that out. I'll put that in on the post for sure.
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, I have a free resource that I think is a great, if you're interested in looking at your money DNA and you think you might have some blocks there, I have a free resource that you could start with at money-dna.com/webinar. And then you can find me at melaniebensonstrick.com. You can find me at on Mel Coach on Twitter and Facebook. And those are great places for us to connect as well.
Cool, cool. Well, thanks again, and this has been fantastic.
Thank you.